So we're looking at how do you deal with making better ethical dilemmas. Like when you come up with an ethical dilemma, how do you deal with it? And what framework or tools do you have to help you make good decisions? So we're going to look at a couple of tools in this video of how you can make better decisions when you have ethical dilemmas. And I am saying, what is better? I'm saying better. A better decision is a decision which is in your overall best interests. And so, you know, there could be some decisions which might be in your short-term best interest, like, all right, I was able to get another couple of 15 bucks in my pocket, or I got to, whatever, have the malt shake. Or that's not really an ethical dilemma, but, you know, sometimes the short-term benefits, you know, there's short-term benefits, but then there's long-term consequences. And really what's better to do is focus on the longer-term benefits. And so better ethical decisions, to me, are ones which are in your best interest in the long term. And so that means they're going to be decisions which are pro-social, which contribute to a stable society, which will align with your nature as a social pack animal, you know, to be pro-social, and you'll experience the beneficial effects of doing things, thinking of others. And they're decisions that are going to keep you out of trouble. And so they're going to keep you from experiencing jail time, whatever, you know, having people look down upon you, having something on your record which prevents job opportunities. So that's what I mean by better ethical decisions. And they're in your long-term best interest. So one tool is to ask yourself, what if everyone knew? When you're facing an ethical dilemma, you're like, wow, should I take the money or should I return it? And the question you might, you know, you find a wallet full of money. What if, you know, it was to somehow come out like a video camera, secret recording camera, saw me pick up the wallet, saw me take the money out, saw me throw the wallet away, and then that video went viral. Like, look at this person finding a wallet. It's like, what if everyone knew? What if everyone saw me doing the bad behavior where I was only thinking of myself and not thinking of others? How would I feel? What impact would that have? And so this is a good, you know, decision-making tool, right? Like, what if you ended up in the newspaper? What if you ended up on the news? What if your family knew? How would they feel about you? And so that's one tool you could ask. You know, one thing you could do is when you experience an ethical dilemma, say, what if other people knew about me doing the, you know, the decision where I'm just going to take more for myself and not think so much of others? How would other people think about me? All right, so that's your first tool. Just ask yourself, what if everyone knew? The next one is to put in a pause. And so a pause cannot be underestimated. Putting in a pause is an easy thing to say, and sometimes it's a really difficult thing to do. And so, you know, if you have an ethical dilemma, like maybe you're thinking, wow, I really want this football. And, you know, and I could just steal it right now, even though I don't have the money. So that might be an ethical dilemma, which, you know, if you are thinking about stealing, but you could always come back and steal it next week. Like, give yourself a week. Think about it. Let yourself sit with that burning desire to have the football or whatever it is. Let yourself sit with that for a week and see if after a week you still really need to go steal that football. In which case, if you decide, yeah, I absolutely need to steal that football, at least you thought about it. You put some time into it, right? You gave yourself time to think about it and make a decision. But often what happens when we put in a pause is the impulsive behavior, which can lead to bad decisions, gets thrown out. And we're able to override impulsive decision making. And so putting in a pause, whatever it is always a good tool to have when you have an ethical dilemma. Even if it's like, should I keep the earrings? Yeah, or should I, you know, if you're going to, you know, you found a wallet or you found some earrings, or if somebody gives you the wrong change, you could take the wrong change and you could walk out to your car and you could sit there. You could sit there for 10 minutes and be like, okay, do I want to keep this? Do I not want to keep it? Right? You're giving yourself time to sort of think about the dilemma instead of just acting impulsively and then going on with your life. And if you decide, okay, I'm not going to keep the wrong change, you can walk back in and you can say, hey, when I got out to the car, I realized, you know, you gave me too much money, so I wanted to make sure you got this back. And so putting in a pause is another tool you could use for making ethical decisions. So what if everyone knew? Put in a pause. Talk to others. So when I was like, you know, wondering about the ethical dilemma of selling textbooks online after publishers have given them to me, and the dilemma exists because the publishers give me the books to review them so that maybe I'll use them in my classes. But then if you know, they give them to me and I just turn around and sell them, that's not really the intent of the publishers to give me books to sell them. Yet the books are now mine, so shouldn't I be able to do whatever I want with them? So that's the ethical dilemma. And you know, I talk to people about it. Like I went over to the library one time instead of selling the books, and I donated them to the library. I said, "What do you guys do? You put all these on the shelf?" And they were like, "Yeah, some of them. What do you do with the ones you don't put on the shelf?" "Oh, we sell them on Amazon." That's what the library said. And then I talked to another faculty member. I was like, "What do you think?" He's like, "Man, if you're not going to sell them, give them to me. I will." Right? So I talked to other people, and I kind of got a feel for how other people feel about the decision. And even the idea of like, okay, well, let me go talk to people about this, right? Like, you already know what people are going to say a lot of times. Like, if you were to go talk to your family and friends and relatives, should I steal the football? Most of them are probably going to be like, not a good idea. Look, man, you really want a football? I'll go buy it for you. Or, well, you get a job and work towards it. As opposed, you know, you might have one or two friends who are like, hell yeah, let's go steal that ball, right? But maybe those aren't the best voices to listen to. So, you know, talking to others is another great tool for making good ethical decisions. And that goes right along with putting in a pause, right? Like, I'm going to put it on pause. I'm going to give it a couple of days. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to talk to other people about it. And, of course, that's a good one, too. What if everyone knew? So considering the consequences, that goes right along with what if everyone knew, but consequences can go beyond just like sort of the social stigma, scarlet letter, or whatever it is, people thinking bad about us. Right, the social the consequences could be, you know, fines, imprisonment, you know, living with your own conscience, which is not to be underestimated. If you are, you know, if most people have a conscience, which is going to nag at you and bug you and make you feel a little bit like, I shouldn't have done that. And you know, those are consequences you should consider. Like, what are the ramifications of me growing marijuana in my house and selling it? Right? I have a medical marijuana license. I'm growing it in my house. It's supposed to be for my personal use, but now I'm turning around and selling it. Well, what if I get in trouble? Right? Like, what if one of the people I sell it to happens to be, you know, DEA, right? And now it's like, well, you have the license for personal use and you're selling it. And now you're facing jail time and these penalties. And you're going to have this on your record, and it's going to be hard for you to get a job. So really think the consequences through. So what if everyone knew? Put in a pause, talk to others, consider the consequences, and then, you know, develop some personal principles. And so what does that mean? So I have the principle of not to take that which isn't freely given. That's just a personal rule by which I live my life. Don't take that which isn't freely given. And so if I get the wrong change, boom, I already know what to do. Was this freely given to me? No, right? So I can't take it. So I got to take it back. Or when I was living with a roommate, I ran out of laundry detergent, and I was like about to just take a scoop of hers and put it in with my laundry. And I was like, wait a minute, this isn't mine. I shouldn't take it. She didn't freely say, use my laundry detergent whenever you want. So I went to my roommate and I said, hey, I ran out of laundry detergent. You mind if I use a scoop of yours? I'll be getting some tonight. And my roommate was like, yeah, of course, you don't need to ask. I'm like, well, it's your stuff, so I don't want to be the roommate who's just like taking your stuff without asking, you know? And she's like, wow, I really appreciate that. Thanks so much. Because you may have had this experience, or maybe you were the person or are the person who is like, you know, I don't know, like there's that roommate where it's like they always drink all your beers, you know? And it's like, man, did you drink all my beers? Yeah, I had a couple of beers. It's no big thing, right? Just beers among buddies. Well, yeah, I guess that's all right. And then next week it's like, dude, did you drink all my beers again? Yeah, but I thought you said it's all right, you know, beers among buddies. It's like, well, actually, I prefer it if you asked me if you had one of my beers, right? And it's like, why are you getting so uptight? Whatever happened to sharing with a buddy? And it's like, they're my beers. Go buy your own beers. I'm buying beer for you every week, and you're drinking 5 of my 6. Knock it off, right? So don't take that which isn't freely given is another ethical decision-making tool, coming up with your own personal principles by which you want to live your life. And then if you get in those dilemmas where it's like, should I take it? Should I not take it? I found that this is a really good one, not to take that which isn't freely given. And so I just apply whatever, you know, touchstone. Most ethical dilemmas, a lot of them can be solved with that one little rule right there. Don't take that which isn't freely given. Who do you want to be? That's another good thing to think about, right? Like, okay, well, being a person of good character and having integrity, meaning I'm trustworthy and that my word counts for something and I'm not going to lie to people, that's the kind of person I want to be. right? And I don't want to rip people off. So I'm going to be a straight up kind of individual. That's who I want to be. That's the kind of character I want. And so, somebody gives me $15 in incorrect change, $80 in incorrect change. Really? Am I going to sell my integrity, my character? Am I going to sell it for $80? If I'm going to sell my character and my integrity, it's not going to be for $80. It's going to be for a whole hell of a lot more money, right? So, what kind of character do you want? You want to be somebody who's trustworthy, reliable, straight shooting, says what they mean, tells the truth, doesn't lie to people, doesn't deceive people. You could count on them. Or you want to be kind of like deceitful, not trustworthy. Sometimes you lie, sometimes you don't. A little bit shifty, right? And people, that people can't count on you. And maybe you're manipulating them a little bit, but that's kind of conniving and slimy and manipulative, right? Do you want to be that kind of a person? So what kind of a person do you want to be? And choose to be that person and then start living it. And if you're not that kind of a person, well, then you're not being honest with other people that you're not honest, right? Which goes hand in hand. Liars don't tell people that they lie. And you're also sort of, probably not being 100% honest with yourself, because why would you choose to be that kind of a person who's just out for themselves, deceitful, conniving, manipulative? It's not a really pretty thing. And so what kind of a person do you want to be? Straight shooter, integrity, character, or conniving, manipulative, fill in whatever word you want after that. And then there's also the golden rule. So looking at the decision-making tools here, what if everyone knew? Think about, how would you feel if everybody knew? Put in that pause, talk to others, consider the consequences, jail time, bad career opportunities, a record. Come up with some personal principles. I only have one, not to take that which isn't freely given. That's like the one that I could articulate off the top of my head. That's all that's come to me. If I get more, I'll add them to the list, right? And think about what kind of individual you want to be, and then make choices to be that kind of person. Because, making decisions, what kind of, your character, it's easy to tell the truth when there's nothing at stake. It's hard to be a character of integrity when the consequences are high. Like, oh, $5, sure, I'll give that back. Oh, $5 million? Well, maybe I'll head to Belize. Right? So, you got to think about what kind of character you want to be, and at what point are you going to sell out. And then the next decision-making tool is the golden rule, which of course is to do unto others as you want done unto yourself. Treat others as you want to be treated. Just, return the same respect that you would like from other people, which means don't steal from me and don't lie to me. Tell me the truth, and I'm not going to steal from you, and I'm not going to lie to you. And if everybody lived by those principles right there, the world would be a whole hell of a lot better, but they don't, unfortunately. And then I believe that going one beyond the golden rule, that there's actually a rule called, what I call the platinum rule, which is even better than the golden rule. And the platinum rule is really, as you do unto others, you really do unto yourself. And so that's just the realization that if I'm pro-social and I help people, I'm really helping myself. If I'm antisocial and I'm just, hurting people, I'm really hurting myself. So as I do unto others, I do unto myself. And the research supports that. When we do pro-social behavior, it's beneficial to us. When we do antisocial behavior, it's negative, detrimental to our own health and well-being and happiness. And so to me, that's the platinum rule. Yeah, I think that's enough said about that. And then let's see, the last two decision-making tools. One is perspective. So it's always good to sort of stop and think, like, if you really want something. A lot of times ethical dilemmas are about taking more for yourself at the expense of others. And so, if you just stop and sort of reorient your perspective, which admittedly I have a hard time doing, even though I have it really great in life, I've got a great job, and I have a really, good family and a nice house. There's part of me as an American male that wants more. As an American, we're just conditioned and programmed to want more and be discontent. Because if we're not discontent, we're not good consumers. And so corporations actually program us with their marketing, the propaganda of the modern age, the propaganda of capitalism. They program us to be discontent. And I have very much been programmed, and I struggle with being discontent, and I struggle with having a good perspective sometimes, because if you stop and you kind of just adjust your perspective, Like we started at the beginning of this class, I said, man, you're lucky to be here. And I have to remind myself of that, you know. But, you know, there's 7 billion people on this planet, and few of them have it as good as you, because right now you're watching this video on the internet, and most people don't have access to the internet. They don't even have the resources to go online and have access to information like this, and much less clean drinking water or physical safety or shelter or food. And so if you kind of reorient your perspective and just think, wow, I've already won. I'm doing great. I've got a place to sleep. I've got food. I get to go to school. I get to learn things. I have internet access. Hallelujah. I don't really need that football, right? I've got so much already. So reorienting your perspective is always a good tool to remember, but it's a hard one for me. So are you looking up or down the social hierarchy? Are you looking at the very few up above you who have even more and you want to be them? Or are you looking back at the 6 billion, 7 billion behind you who aren't as fortunate as you are already? So reorienting your perspective. The final decision-making tool is to live and learn. You are human, so you're going to make mistakes. That's what it means to be human. And we live and learn through trial and example, and hopefully you won't have to pay heavy consequences by making the wrong decision. What you can do when you make the wrong ethical decision is you could always step back and you could always, set things right. So the steps in that is to forgive yourself. I'm human. Wow, I messed up. And make amends. And that takes even more courage to go to the people that you wronged and say, I'm sorry, man, I messed up. I want to make things right. And to learn your lesson, right? Okay, I'm learning my lesson. And by doing those 2 steps before, that's really going to drive that lesson home, particularly making amends. Where you're like, dude, I'm sorry, I messed up. I need to make things right. Right? You'll be like dog with its tail between its legs. And that's going to help you learn your lesson, and then you'll be able to move on, and you won't be as likely to make that mistake again. So some really good tools here for making for when you encounter ethical dilemmas in your life for making the better ethical decision, which is going to be in your best long-term interest. Think about what if everyone knew, put in a pause, talk to others, consider the consequences, right? Like what happens if I get caught? You know, like, okay, that's going to be heavy. Think about, you know, if there are any personal principles you want to live by, like do not take that which isn't freely given. And think about what kind of an individual you want to be. Trustworthy, straightforward, reliable, with integrity, always tells the truth. People can count on you. Or you want to be manipulative and conniving and a shyster, you know, and you're just, you know, screwing people out of money and taking advantage of them. What kind of person do you want to be? And then there's, of course, the golden rule and the platinum rule: do unto others as you want done unto yourself. Because really, when you do unto others as you want done unto yourself, you're really doing that unto yourself, right? You help others, you're helping yourself. And finally, perspective, right? You know, being grateful for what you already have, and living and learning. And when you make the wrong decision, make amends and forgive yourself, and then learn your lesson and move on. So those are some tools they've been hard won, actually. I sort of came from a background where I was a little bit challenged when I was young. I was a little bit of a challenged teenager. And so I had to learn some of these lessons the hard way. And I pass this on to you, hoping that you can hear them and maybe learn them without going through some of the tough times that I've experienced. Just to be completely vague about that. Right. It wasn't anything terrible. It wasn't anything terrible. But yeah, these things, you know, you really teach well what you had to learn. And I hope I taught that well to you, and I hope you picked some of this stuff up. All right. Hope those 2 tools help.